Ken, hi. Good to talk to you. You're very welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
I presume you're on TV commentary over the next fortnight?
Yes, I will be. Yeah, starts. We have our champions dinner tonight, Thursday night, and starts, of course, on Saturday morning. So yeah, really looking forward to it, and can't wait. To be honest, it's exciting. There's some very interesting first round matches as well.
Champions dinner, huh?
Yeah,
Check you out.
Yeah. We've just introduced this because I'm chairman of the Players Board, so we thought we'd introduce it a bit like what they do at the Masters and the. Last year's champion, Corin Wilson, he sets the menu. We're all given a jacket. We've got a black jacket with the Crucible Cup, the World Championship trophy as the logo on the breast pocket. So, yeah, we're sort of copying a little bit from Augusta, but we thought it'd be a nice tradition to maybe to start, and hopefully we can continue doing it every year.
That's such a good idea. Such a good idea. Yeah.
So we'll have some good photographs tonight. We have Cliff Thorburn is there. There's a few of the lads that are missing, but Cliff Thorburn has come all the way from Canada. Dennis Taylor, Steve Davis, Stephen Hendry, John Parrott, myself, Peter Ebden, Sean Murphy, and of course the holder, Corin Wilson. So yeah, Neil Robertson is coming along as well. So, but there's a few champions, past champions, and are not attending for one reason or another. But it won't stop us having a good time, Joe.
That's brilliant. I guarantee you, in 5-10 years, that's going to be such a thing. That'll grow into a thing for sure.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the idea. Anyway,
you're doing a lot of TV work, aren't you? Just away from the Worlds and BBC. Do I see you like almost on the circuit a bit as well, juggling the plane and TV quite a bit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm working for ITV, so we've got 5 tournaments on ITV, which is great. Work with Stephen Hendry, Alan McManus, Neil Fowles there, which is good, and Jill Douglas. Is a great presenter. Brilliant. So. Yeah, really enjoying it, and it's keeping me busy. I was still doing a little bit of playing, but it's sort of I'm doing more talking than playing at the moment. But I love it. I just love it. It's a great. I've just been blessed. That I love the sport. It's that I can still play and still enjoy, even not playing so competitively, but still enjoy it. On the other side of the camera.
Yeah. Do you feel you've got good at the TV commentary?
I don't know. I don't listen to myself, to be honest. You know what I mean? So I leave that up to others to judge. But I think it does take a bit of time to get used to it. I think but I've been doing it for the best part of nearly 15 years now. But I do enjoy it. And I suppose for us, it's nice to have a representative, from Ireland as well. With an Irish voice as well as like Dennis. But it's good to have an Irish voice there on the TV as well.
Well, I can say I think you're brilliant, and I think the commentary of the snooker elevates it so much. Oh, it's like watching with friends. Yeah. It's like watching with friends. Honest to God, every time
you get a bit sucked in, don't you? You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's very and like it's it's full of tension at certain times and everything else. But like for a lot of the championship. Stressful day, you turn on the TV and
it's just very calming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you guys get on genuinely well, and
we do.
know each other a long time. I always wonder as well, one of the lovely things is obviously you see people with the earpieces on in the crowd, so they're listening to the TV. Because there's an amazing relationship where you'll get the camera angle and say, "Oh, he's snookered," and you'll hear the crowd go. They'll find out, or one of you cracks a joke, and you can hear the crowd have a little
giggle. And
I was thinking, geez, you need to be restrained, not to try and be a funny man there, and look for a laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sometimes there's a time and a place for it. Between play, you couldn't, and we have to be aware of that as well. That we can't sort of crack jokes, when the players are down at the table or they're on a shot or something like that. That would be the wrong time. But there is a time and a place for it. But yeah, I mean, when you're working with the likes of Dennis and JB, who are great wordsmith, but great sort of the way they can, control the drama and interpret the drama and build the drama up and build a story. And I always can tell a funny story as well about snooker or what's happened in the past. I think the crowd love that as well.
No, it's a fantastic thing. It really, really is. I mentioned of the Champions Dinner and Augusta. I presume you were watching the other night.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody who loves sport, I'm sure was watching that. That was sport at its finest. The beauty, the drama, the tension, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, throwing it away, getting it back, throwing it away, getting it back, it was just gripping TV, and to overcome all that, you could see the relief and what it meant to him, and to be, the sixth man only in the history of golf to complete a Grand Slam was, I think it's fitting for his talent alone. He's such a great player, a great character, a great ambassador as well for the game. And he deserves it, for all his abundance of talent as well, and the shots that he can play. It's just quite incredible.
A few parallels with snooker. You both have to pull the trigger. The clock doesn't come to the rescue, and it can be tension sustained across hours. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's also because it's such a solitary game. Snooker players and golfers have a lot of time to think between shots. Like, you could be sitting in your chair in snooker waiting for your opponent to miss. In golf, from one shot to the other, you have a bit of time to contemplate your shot, and the stuff that would go on in your mind. I mean, you can imagine, the sort of the drama that went on in his mind, and the trauma, you could say, in his mind, when he sort of double bogeyed the forest, when he went into the water on 13, from 95 yards, to be able to come back from that, to be able to sustain those battles within the mind itself and come out the other side. We have to do that. It's a great affinity along with snooker as well,
Yeah, I'll bet there is. Were you good at that? Were you good at self-talk?
You talk to yourself all the time, to try and, produce positive thoughts and, say you've done this before, you can do it again, just wait for your chance, you try and build yourself up all the time in your own little mind. And I think Rory did that well, particularly on the last, with the confidence to play that shot. But yeah, you have to have belief and confidence. That's a talent in itself, as well as everything else,
Because very easy to sit there and go, "You idiot, you bloody,"
yeah. Oh, listen, you do that a lot as well. Let me tell you, and it's a little bit more explicit than that, But you can imagine what goes on when you go back to your chair. You've missed an easy putt, and you just set up your opponent. You're cursing yourself big time, and but it's be able to get over that and to wipe the slate clean, and when you come back to the table, or in golfing terms, you take up your next shot. Your next shot is, I think they say, your next shot is the most important one. And it's the same at snooker as well.
Did you work with the Bob Rotella type or a psychologist, Ken?
I wish I had done it earlier on. I didn't do it earlier on in my career. I was sort of later on in my career. I did. I worked with Liam Morgan and one or two more, of course, as well. And I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think it's a big part of our game. And I would encourage a lot of the players to do it. I think a lot of them are doing it now than what they used to do back in the 90s, and for sure.
Yeah, and what would be a key message or a good message that you took from it and used and felt that really worked?
I would always say, good body language, I think, is very important, and also just the positivity, and you rely on moments, past moments in your sport where you were successful, or a shot you might have played, or you have those. I think visualization is very, very important. Where you can see yourself. When I won the World Championship, I know it's a long time ago, but when I won it, I was up against Stephen Hendry, who had won it like 5 years in a row. He was almost unbeatable, but I could see myself in my dreams, and I could visualize myself lifting up the cup, for some strange reason. It was a dream I had from a young kid, but I could see myself lifting the cup like Dennis Taylor did, like Alex Higgins did, heroes of mine, kissing the cup and the lights, from the ceiling lights, like stars, like in the Crucible. I could see myself doing that, and that gave me a great calmness, and belief and confidence, and I think that, for other players, moments like that in their own sort of career, if they can pick on, when they're feeling low, to say, in whatever sport it might be, to say, look, I've done this, I played that shot well, or I've won this trophy and I've come out the other side. I think that keeps you calm and keeps your belief up,
It's funny you say it's a long time ago now, and well, I suppose it is. The passage of time is a funny thing, isn't it? But I was talking to a colleague upstairs. I was grabbing a coffee, and he said, "What's on the agenda today?" And I said, I talked to Ken Doherty, and straight away it was, "Geez, I remember where I was. I remember where I was." And a bit like McIlroy probably on Sunday. Yeah, certain sporting events, they lodge in the brain, and people remember them. And for you, it's a lovely thing. But I think anyone who was around to see it in '97. all remember it. It's one of those that's in the. You're lucky. It's one of those that's lodged.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was sort of cocooned over here, in Sheffield, in my own little world. Even I didn't want to know what was going on back in Ireland. I think it was the first time that RTE took only the final session of the final so that the whole of the country, because even probably parts of the country wouldn't have had the BBC aerial back in '97, believe it or not. There was no satellite TV then, of course. So the whole country could watch it, and the impact it had, and it snowballed obviously up to the final. But even coming home, an open top bus through the city centre. I mean, like that was just. I just couldn't believe it. When people like beeping horns and hanging out of office blocks with, the Irish flag and welcome home champ, and the big reception in the Mansion House as well. And then the chief superintendent telling me that I stopped crying for 3 hours because they had that one phone call into Harcourt police station for 3 hours. And he said to me, Doherty, he says, you should be on television more often. You make my job a hell of a lot easier. So, yeah, that was the impact, and it was quite sensational. Yeah. So if one thing I've done in my life, that was probably, that I'll be remembered for, then, I'll go to my grave a happy man,
Yeah, for sure. It's an amazing thing. I guess you can kind of relate to Rory now in that sense of...
without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah.
No one can take this away from me. No one can take it away. Yeah.
His name is on the trophy, and they can't rub it off,
Yeah. I'm sure you do get people telling you where I was when I watched it.
Yeah.
I was 12.
Oh, right, okay. You're making me feel old.
No, I know. Sorry, I don't mean to do that, but it's funny, the impact. That was the time where me and mates, let's go to the snooker hall. You know what I mean? So Selbridge Snooker Hall. That's where I was first.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
So we're
still going?
Still going strong. Yes,
still there.
We were there, like racing out of school. He's on at 3:00. Let's stick it on, So just magical.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
You're still playing. So 55 years young. And you last qualified for the Crucible in 2014, I was reading.
Yeah.
You've qualified for 2 tournaments this season, the Saudi Arabian Masters and the German Masters, and you went again to try and get it back into the World Championships this year.
Yeah.
So a love for the game for sure is why you're still doing it. But
I still love it. Yeah. But I mean, it obviously gets a lot harder. The last time I qualified for the Crucible, I walked out, got down on my knees, and kissed the carpet. Because it's just such a wonderful place. And I'd implore anybody who's never, been to the World Championship just to come and witness it. While it's still here, the contract is up in 2027. We don't know whether it's going to continue. I hope it does.
Yeah.
But it's such a wonderful place, and it's the holy grail, for all the snooker players to play at the Crucible, and of course to win there, But it's if you've never been, you're a fan of sport, you got to put it on your bucket list,
What's the biggest challenge for you at 55 trying to compete with these younger guys?
It's just it's like as you get a bit older, it gets harder. You get a little bit more. I think it's the standard has obviously gone up, but also your standard comes down. It's very hard to concentrate the way you used to. You get a little bit more nervous as you get a bit older as well. I think that's the hardest. I think that's the hardest thing, And you get a little bit frustrated because. You sort of miss the easy shots that you wouldn't have missed, 20 years ago. But something, it doesn't break my heart anymore. I love playing, and we have the senior World Championships now, the over 45s. After the World Championship, that's the next one on my bucket list to try and win. So but I love the game, and I'm blessed that I can still play it, and I can still as I said, work behind the scenes and enjoy this World Championship with the BBC.
That's interesting. You say you get more nervous as you get older.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. It's like I always use the analogy of maybe driving a car. That when you get into a car when you're young, that you're speeding around everywhere. You don't see any of the dangers. When you get that bit older and you've had a few knocks, and then you drive for comfort more than anything, and then you're always aware and a little bit more nervous of someone crashing into you rather than you crashing into them. So I think that's probably the best explanation I can use.
Do you find practice harder to commit to?
Yeah, I think so as well. It's very hard to. I go into the academy here, Ding Junhui's academy, and it's full of Chinese. I think there's 5 or 6 lads in there now that have qualified for the World Championship. I think and I see them in there, and they're in there from like 9:00 in the morning till 4 or 5 in the evening. I used to do that when I was down at Ilford, back in the late 80s, early 90s, with Ronnie O'Sullivan on the next table when he was only, 15, 16. We used to play together for hours and hours on end, but it's very, very hard to do that now.
Yeah. Just boredom, just...
Well, it's just concentrate, you know what I mean? It's just
right.
a couple of hours, and then you're sort of done,
Yeah. I saw that you've a new cue, which doesn't happen very often in a snooker's life.
No. I've had my cue, which I picked up at Jason's off the pool rack, and I gave the manager £2 for it back in 1981.
Yeah.
So I've had it for like 44 years, and everything I've won was at that £2 cue, and people say, well, why do you want to change it? Well, I just thought I'd change. There was a bit more power in this new cue, and I thought I'll try it out and see how it goes. And but it's sort of, we're on a honeymoon period at the moment, so I got to see how it goes. Okay. Yeah,
it's like a new putter.
It's probably, when you've had something for 45 years, it's almost like, because it's organic, it's wood. It's you've got more of a sort of an intimacy with it, you know what I mean, than you would with a golf club that's made of iron or graphite or whatever, or carbon, whatever it might be, So
interesting.
It's a little bit different, yeah.
Yeah, like it's a kind of alchemy or a chemistry to you.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
God, that's one of the most intimate relationships you've had in your entire life, isn't it? You and that cue from 1981.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Without sure, yeah, it is. Yeah. 45 years, £2. So winning the world championship with a £2 cue, that's a little bit warped as well, like, you know what I mean. But yeah, I might go back to it. You never know.
And did people ever say to you, "Listen, Ken, I know you like it and everything, but it's a rubbish cue. Like, bin it.
It is,
and,
yeah.
And get a better one. You'll be a better player."
Oh, like John Higgins has been saying it to me for 20 years. Jimmy White has been saying it to me. How can you play with that piece of shit? Like, But yeah, I think because it served me so well, I've had this relationship with it for 45 years that I just didn't want to let it go. I felt like it's you've built up a trust with it, and it's just you didn't. But I just thought, well, no, I can't changing it now. It's not going to make much of a difference, I didn't think. And I just thought it might be a little bit exciting. It might give me a little bit of inspiration. But I'm going to keep with the new one for a while and see how it goes, And I'll play with it in the seniors. I'll play a little bit in the summer with it before the new season. I've got one more season on my wild card, and then I'll see how that goes, and then I'll see what happens then after that.
That's so interesting. So, like, the way it's a bit warped, would you be subconsciously making all sorts of compensations for it? Like, it's almost it's an extension of you.
I'll twist it around onto one side of the cue, yeah. So it's like a round butter on it, yeah. So I'm used to hitting it on one side, So yeah, that's the way it is. A bit strange, but yeah, all the players take the piss out of me with the piece of wood that I have, how I can play with it,
And would the rest of them all have like state of the art new cues, good cues?
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the cues now, John Paris cues, you would have to wait 8 years for an ultimate cue, So just for you'd have to put your name down such a waiting list on them that you'd have to wait 8 years, and it costs you about 5,000. But you could sell it in China for maybe 15,000, yeah, because they're all, wanting to be on the waiting list, to get on the waiting list even for one of his cues,
And what's so good about it?
Just the hand, the work that goes into it, handmade, the best wood, the best ash or maple, whatever type of wood that you like, and just the care and attention to detail that he would put into it, and the treatment of the wood and just the way he would carve it out of it. Like, it comes like a big block of wood, like, like a 10 by 2 or something like that, and he would shave it down until he gets, and then roll it and everything, it's quite remarkable how long it takes to get the perfect cue.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you're there with your piece of shit in the next table. That's something.
Yeah, for £2.
God.
Yeah.
That's a lovely thing, by the way, that you still love the game, love watching it, talking about it, but also that you enjoy playing it. Because I think a lot of those individual sports in particular, golf, snooker, where people have put in so many hours. You talk to a lot of golfers and ask them would they play recreationally, and they'd say, no, I hate the game. I hate it.
Yeah. I can't understand that. I mean, some of the players even now, like, you might talk to Stephen Hendry. He doesn't like playing the game anymore. He can't really, he loves it, and he loves doing it for his YouTube channel and interviewing different people. But playing it, or doing exhibitions and stuff, he can't stand it. I know a lot of golfers are like that as well that have stopped playing. But for me, no, I love it. I really do. It's given me a life, that I've loved. I've been very blessed with, and I love talking about it. I love playing. I love doing exhibitions. Playing in front of people. Whether it be in a club or a theatre or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's really it's the love of my life.
That's great. I always remember being at an exhibition you did with Jimmy White, and
Yeah.
there must have been a big Jimmy fan in the house because you were lining up a pot, and someone behind said "Miss," and you turned around and said, "Miss, we're in Ireland."
Yeah. Well, there's always Jimmy White fans everywhere you go. So he's very, very popular over the years. Yeah.
You say the standard is going to a different level. So, like, again, the golf analogy keeps coming in here. Golf has become like a power game. If you said, how has golf changed in the last however many years? You'd say, God, the power has become a thing. Is the style of snooker, the type of snooker that we'll be watching over the next 2 weeks?
Yeah.
If I suddenly went back and watched a YouTube of you playing in the late 90s, early 2000s, would the game itself be very, very different, or would it look largely similar?
Well, certain games, I just think now that a lot of the players, they're a lot more aggressive players. Like, so that, the game is relied upon it. When they're at the table, they want to stay at the table. They want to win the frame in one visit, So it's sort of indoctrinated now, even into the younger players coming into the game. However, you still need the other side of the game, the dark side of the game. When the game breaks down, it becomes a little bit more of a strategy. I think that's very, very important. You have to have sort of all aspects, all facets of the game to succeed. But I just think the long putting with the guys now and the break building, has increased exponentially over the years. And it's got so much better. And even for the young guys coming in, they're very aggressive, just like the golf, a bit like the golf,
Yes.
they're bombing it down, 300 and odd yards down the middle of the fairway. Whereas before it might have been 250, a layup here, a layup there. Now they want to, almost drive the green. So, and they become a lot more aggressive. And of course, they're using better cloths now. The balls are spinning better. They're opening better, which is more conducive to bigger breaks. We're seeing a lot more 147s and a lot more centuries, record amount of centuries. And I'm sure this World Championship, we might even see another record being broken.
And yet what's so interesting is you even have like the class of 92 still hanging around.
Yeah. I mean, it's beyond belief how they're still playing at that level, and they're all 50 almost now. Some of them are already 50, yeah. But it's quite incredible that they can still play at that level, and they're still at the top of the game. Still in the top 16, still winning tournaments. So they're sort of defying sort of human nature, as it were. That they don't seem to have. I don't think they're playing as well as they were. Like, John Higgins says, I'm playing as well as I was, ever. Well, I don't think so. I think when you look back on him 20 years ago, when he was in his prime, he was scoring a lot better. He was a lot sharper. You know what I mean? He wouldn't miss the odd one here and there. Whereas now he might do, but he's still competitive. And he could be one of the dangers of this World Championship, the way he's playing and the way he played in the Tour Championship only a couple of weeks ago.
All right, okay. Is there and I say this respectfully to like Judd Trump, the world number one, and any of the other top guys. But like, I'm going to ask you about Ronnie in a second.
Yeah.
It strikes me snooker seems to have had a bit of a resurgence, and like globally it's in an interesting place and all that kind of stuff. It needs a superstar. It needs a Luke Littler to come through and actually become the face of the sport, a young name.
Yeah, it does. I completely agree. What Luke Littler has done to darts, has re-energized it. Everybody wants to play darts now and bring the kids to play darts, which is great. It reminds me a lot of when Ronnie O'Sullivan burst onto the scene as a young kid as well.
Yeah. Are there any?
Yeah, we could do.
Are there any whispers of anyone coming through, Ken?
Yeah, we have there's a few young lads coming through. There's like a young sort of Stan Moody. There's a lad from Wales. There's a young lad who's just turned professional, and he's only 14, would you believe, from Poland.
Okay.
So I've not seen, but I heard he's an incredible talent as well. So the game is in a good hands at the moment. As you said, there's been a big resurgence. TV wise. That's how ITV have come into it. Eurosport now have gone over to TNT, but they're doing a wonderful job. BBC have always done a great coverage of the Masters UK and the World Championship. But globally, the audience is going up, in China, across the Eastern Asia seaboard, now into Saudi, of course, as well, in the Middle East. And it's flourishing. But there are more markets, like maybe South America, even North America, with a lot of expats and stuff like that. There are probably new markets that they could sort of expand into, but that would probably be the future.
Yeah, that global interest means people with money come along with ideas. And
yes,
you went viral last year. I think people will generally be aware that a discussion you were having on the BBC, and Barry Hearn was there holding court, and Barry's talking about, the Saudis and money and maybe. And it was interesting, the body language was telling, because you're sitting there and I can actually feel the disgust of like, what? And so you asked the question to Barry, once you sort of, can I just come in here? And you said, does the history and nostalgia of the Crucible, because he was talking about maybe the championships leaving the Crucible, does the history and nostalgia of this place not mean something? Are there not certain things in life that money can't buy? And Barry Hearn looked at you and said, no.
Yeah.
That was ominous, with the Crucible contract up in 2027.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, I believe, there are things that money can't buy, you cannot buy history. You have to create your own history. There's nostalgia that the Crucible has had since 1977. And you get a feeling of that when you play there, all those ghost memories of, the past champions, the wonderful moments, the Higgins moment in 82, where he's crying, the Dennis Taylor moment in 85, an iconic moment, the O'Sullivan 147, the Jimmy White misses, not being able to capture a world championship, all those great iconic moments. You get a feeling of that when you come. People come from all over the world, from as far as Australia, Canada, South America, just to come and visit the Crucible because of all those, wonderful world championship moments. And it has that history, and I don't care if it doesn't make money for Barry Hearn or World Snooker Tour. That should be a selling point for snooker and its population around the world. It's fans around the world to say that, look, this is what has been created. It took 50 years. It is still there almost 50 years later at the World Championship. This is what we've created. This is all our wonderful moments here at the Cruise. This is our selling point to the rest of the world, to what they can do with their own tournament. Saudi, if they want to have a tournament, they can try their own money at it, but it'll take time to build up their history. But don't, just because you got a bigger checkbook, come along and think that you can just buy the World Championship. If Barry Hearn did that, it would be the death of the World Championship for sure, and I would be totally against it,
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you cannot buy,
Listen, and you speak so well there, but I got the distinct impression that Barry, and he almost said as much when you posited that point to him last year. It's like, spare me the romance here.
Yeah.
Money talks, Sonny. That's that. So
it might do for him. It might do for him. But for the rest of us, and certainly for me, it doesn't. You know what I mean? So that may be his world, or maybe that may be his God. But snooker is my love. You know what I mean? Not money, and the World Championship and the Crucible. I think it should remain there. Let them, find, bigger sponsors. Let them find some money elsewhere. But don't sell your soul. To the highest bidder.
I asked you just before we started, do you know the inside track on Ronnie? Is he playing? You said not a clue.
I haven't got a clue, to be honest. I mean, he's keeping everybody in the dark.
How late can he leave this?
Well, the press day is tomorrow, where the top 16 in the contract have to turn up and do the press day. Now, he has normally turned up in past years to do the press day. Now, whether he's going to do that tomorrow or not, nobody knows. I don't think World Snooker knows. I was in the press room yesterday. They don't know. The fact that now that he's been drawn against Ali Carter, who he's got a history with, they had a shoulder charge at the World Championship the last time they met. They had a spat in the final of the Masters a couple of years ago. And it was very, there was a real tension between the two. So the fact that he's playing him now, it's great for us as pundits or as spectators or fans, that it sort of beefs it up a little bit, and it's going to be the most talked about first round match this year. But whether he's going to turn up or not, nobody knows.
And so, the queue snapping back in January, and then no one's really seen him
Yeah.
since. And I read one piece. He's suffering from what has been described as a lack of confidence, kind of a suitably vague term. Have you any idea what's up?
Well, I tell you, I mean, this will give you a little inkling into how he's feeling. I think he is suffering from anxiety. His mental health issues have been well documented, and he hasn't played now for 5 months, but he did turn up in February for the Welsh Open. Drove all the way from Essex up to Llandudno, 5-hour journey. Stayed overnight, got up the next morning for breakfast, and as he was having breakfast, he used to play at 1 o'clock. As he was having breakfast, he said to his pal, who's a friend of mine, he said, "I don't think I can do this." And got into his car and drove all the way back to Essex and gave a walkover. So that would give you a small inkling into the world and to maybe the mind and the anxiety that Ronnie O'Sullivan is going through. And speaking to Jimmy White or John Virgo, was two good friends saying that, yeah, I think he might have this sort of bit of anxiety of nerves of actually trying to perform again, or belief that he can do it. I think he can. But whether he believes that himself or not, I don't know. The proof will be in the pudding, I suppose, whether he turns up to play Ali Carter in the World Championship. I certainly hope he does, because it would be a shame if he didn't,
Yeah. The way you said that is great, because the Ronnie stuff can be a bit of media circus and Ronnie, what's he done now? Kind of a thing. But actually, the way you talk there with a certain compassion. He has a tough inner life.
Yeah,
it's a really difficult time. It's very sad.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah, it is. It's very real. It's not, like a lot of the stuff, controversially over the years. Yeah, you would take with a pinch of salt. And he likes to, court controversy. There's no doubt about that. But a lot of the stuff is real. From his documentary about the demons. I mean, I've known him since he was 10. I know his sort of his family history, about his father going to prison for murder, his mother going to prison at the same time for tax evasion. He was only 15 years of age. He had to look after his 13-year-old sister, so it would all sort of stem from that and the problems that he's had. But, he's battled through them. He's had to, he's got a lot of help along the way, which he's needed to. He's been to therapy, he's been to the Priory for drugs and drink, but he's come out the other side, and he's still been the best player that we've ever seen in the game, and still one of the most, if not the greatest entertainer that we've seen in the game. So we hope he comes back, not for us, but just for his own sake. But it would be great to see him at the World Championship play again.
You talk about,
and I'd love to see him win it.
I was just going to say,
I really would, because I think he deserves, just like Rory deserved the Grand Slam. I think he deserves to get to number 8 and. To be recognised as the greatest that's ever played,
There'd be tears that night if he did it, wouldn't there?
Yeah, he would be, yeah. He might, whoever he's playing, he might hug them again for about 10 or 15 minutes. But, yeah, I think there would be tears, But I think there'd be a lot of satisfaction in the game as well, particularly with a lot of us who've watched him over the years,
Oh, that's what I mean, actually. I mean, tears at home on the couch almost watching him do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he deserves it. For what he's given to the game. The fans that he's brought to the game, the interest. And I think a lot of the other players, I think they understand that. Even though they played with him, they know what a controversial figure he's been. But in a way, he's actually benefited their careers as well. Because of the attention, the money, the media that is brought into the game, the back pages that he gets, that no other player gets in the game, So in a way, they've benefited from that as well.
A last one then on how it all shapes up. Trump is the favourite, 7-2. Selby's 11-2. Kyron Wilson 7-1. The Crucible curse and all that to try and retain it.
Yeah.
And then they have Ronnie at 8-1. Does that look fairly open to you?
It does. I think it's one of the most open championships that we've had for a long time, because if you look down what's happened over the last 12 months with the likes of Kyron Wilson as champion, he's won 4 tournaments this year. Judd Trump has won 3. He's been beaten in 3 finals. You've got John Higgins has come back to form. Mark Selby's won a couple of tournaments. Neil Robertson, a past champion, has won a couple of tournaments. He's come back to form as well. Ronnie O'Sullivan, and then you've got a few of those young Chinese lads. You know, you've got Trump, you've got Murphy, who's won the Masters. You know, and then you've got like Ding Junhui has come back to form. You know, he's won a tournament this year. You've got an amateur, Zhao Xintong, who was banned for like a couple of years. He's won 4 matches to get here. He's had 12 centuries in the qualifiers. He's due to play Jack Jones in the first match, and if he wins that, he'll play Corin Wilson in the second. That would be an incredible match as well. So he's a wonderful story. He could win it. He was actually, even as an amateur, he was given like 25-1 odds of winning the championship. That's how much he's held in high esteem, and think, you know, he could be a wonderful outsider. So there's so many players, there's so many cases for him. Even Mark Williams, you know, that I haven't mentioned, he could be in there. So there's so many players who have played well this year who will be going to Sheffield, you know, believing that they can win it, you know, get on a roll and could win it, you know.
Brilliant. Well, look, that sounds great. We'll be watching the TV, I'm sure. Enjoy the next couple of weeks. Eyes of the World on snooker for these 2 weeks is great.
Yeah. I'm going to enjoy the Masters dinner first tonight as well. It should be some wonderful stories tonight. All right, but it'll be a bit of fun, and I hope you're watching. I hope it invigorates you, Joe, to get back down to Selby Snooker Centre.
I don't think my back could take it anymore, Ben. You know?
Fergal O'Brien will be down there. He'll give you a little snooker lesson.
He was, oh man, he was there all the time. Jesus, yeah. It's great. Yeah. It's a fun place. Thank you so much. Enjoy. Ken Doherty, pleasure.
Thanks, Joe.